Good day, students. My name is S.Adebayo Matthew. I'm here to take you mathematics. Today we shall be moving to bearing and distance. Under it, we shall be looking at the compass bearing or the compass direction, which are major and minor directions. And we shall also be looking at types of bearing, which is compass bearing, acute angle bearing, and three-figure bearing. Then we shall be looking at the relationship between acute angle bearing and three-figure bearing, which is conversion of acute angle bearing to three-figure bearing. And now you can also convert three-figure bearing to acute angle bearing. Then lastly, we shall also be looking at reciprocal bearing or back bearing. So let us start with the compass directions, the major compass directions. We have four major compass directions, and which are the north, east, south, and west. The north, the east, north, the east, the south, and the west. So these are the four major cardinal directions that we have, and each of the directions is divided into four parts. Each of the parts is having an angle of 90 degrees, which are what? Which are right angles. Which are right angles. So you can see. So each of the parts is 90 degrees, which the sum gives us 360 degrees. So it means it is 360 degrees that is divided into four main directions, which are the north, the east, the south, and the west. The north is represented by N, the south is represented by S, the east is represented by E, and the west is represented by W. Then let's now move to the minor cardinal directions. The minor cardinal directions are gotten from the major cardinal directions. How? So I told you we have four cardinal points, which are north, east, south, and west. So if you have north, east, south, and west, now the minor one are gotten from the major one. How? When you divide this north and east into two, it will give you north, east. So it means that this direction is coming out from the north pole, between the north pole and the east. Also, this direction here is also coming out between the south pole and the east. This direction is also coming out from the south and what? And the west. This direction is also coming out from the north and what? And the west. So these are the four minor cardinal directions that we have, which are northeast, southeast, southwest, and northwest. These are the four minor cardinal points, where north, east, south, and west are the major cardinal directions. So in conclusion, we have 8 cardinal directions, but we have 4 major ones and 4 minor ones. The major ones are north, east, south, and west, and the minor ones are northeast, southeast, southwest, and northwest. So you can see this a diagram that is showing the 8 cardinal directions that we have. Now let's proceed to bearing and its types. So in a simple sentence, when we are talking of bearing is the direction of one point with respect to a given point. It means when you are given a given point, the bearing is the direction of one of the point to another point. If this is a point that is given to me, and I have another point here, assuming I have another point here, then my bearing is the direction at which the given point is looking as towards where I'm looking at. Or for instance, assuming there is a building here. If there is a building here, if this is a building, and I'm here, I'm here looking at the building. If I'm here looking at the building, so if the building, I'm looking at the building, you can see that my direction is north east. It means where I'm looking at, my direction is between north and what? North and east. But if I'm standing here and I'm looking at an object here, so it means my direction will be what? Will be southeast. You can see, depending on what? On the direction I'm looking at. So that's why we said bearing is what? Is the direction of one point with respect to the the other. So, and when you are dealing with bearing, it is measured in a clockwise direction. When you want to read your direction, or when you want to read your angle is measured or read in a clockwise direction, the way the hand of the clock moves. That is from the north, from the north. You start reading your angle from the north pole in a clockwise direction. And a compass can also be used to measure your direction. So now let's now move to the types. These are types of a bearing, which we have compass bearing. So where compass is an instrument that is used to find directions, is used to measure direction. And that's why you see those people that forecast weather, where maybe there will be a cold or something else, some of them also use this kind of bearing. So that's how they know that here there will be sun, here there will be cold, here there will be rain. Sorry. Why? Because of the what? Of the compass they used. So it is used to also to show the direction, to detect the direction of a wind. So here we can also use it to know the direction of a point, So, and that's why when you look at the clock here, the clock is showing the 8 cardinal point that we have. So pointing on the direction that you are going to. Pointing on the direction you are going to. So that is for the compass direction. The second type is acute angle bearing. When we are talking of acute angle bearing deals with the angle it makes with the north or south pole. The angle it makes with the north or south pole. It means the angle that is with the north. Because in each of the four parts, don't forget, in each of the four parts, if you have north, east, south, west, in each of the four parts, if this part is the first part is divided into two, which is the northeast, you see that it divides the first part into two equal sides or two angles, where one of the part is closer to the north, and when one is what? When one of them is what? Is not closer to the north. So looking at these two angles on the first part, this angle here is closer to the north more than this angle. So my acute angle bearing here is this angle, theta. So here too, if I want to look at my acute angle bearing, this will be my acute angle bearing. Same thing here, this will be my acute angle bearing. When the angle it makes with what? The south. So these are the two angles that are acute angle bearing. And if I also have another one here, these are the acute angle bearings. So it is angle that is made with what? With either north or south. When you look at this angle very well, is the angle is with north. This angle too is with north. This angle is with south. This angle is with south. But when you look at the other two angles, this angle, you will see the two angles are not with neither south nor north. So when you are given these two angles, any of these angles, you make it a complementary angle. That is, you subtract the angle that is not with the south from 90 degrees. We are still going to look at those ones when we are dealing with our examples. So when you are talking about acute angle bearing, that is the angle it makes with either north or south. And the angles are greater than 0, but the angles are not up to 90 degrees. So acute angle bearing, they are angles that are greater than 0, but the angles are not up to 90 degrees. So that is between 0 and 89 degrees. So if you are given any angle that is more than that, you try and what? And look for the complementary angle that it makes with what? With the knot. With the knot. So three figure bearing now, which is the last part or types of bearing that we are going to look at. The bearing. So now we have three figure bearing, or we also call it Sauvier's bearing. So when we are talking about three figure bearing, is this with when you have 3-digit numbers. 3-digit numbers. 3 digits. 3-digit number. Now, this method involves reading on the compass the angle which the line XY makes with the north direction. For instance, if I have something like this here, if I have north, east, south, and west. Now, if I have a direction here, which is my direction here is north east. Hope you are getting me. You are following what I'm doing here. My direction here is now what? Northeast. So if this is my x and this is my y. So if I want to look for the bearing of my y, I will look at it from here, from my x. And if I want to look at the bearing of x, I will go and look at the bearing of x from y. So when you have two objects, if this is the first object, and the second object is here, if this is x, this is y, the two cannot give you the same direction. So if you want to look for the direction of x, you go and look at it from the direction from y. And if you want to look at y, you look at it from x. So looking at this now, if I want to put it here now, this is my north, this is east. You can see this is north, this is east, this is south, this is west. So the bearing of x from y is west. So you think that where x is facing directly from y will be what? Will be west. And where y is facing directly from x will be east. So the bearing of x from y is west, and the bearing of y from x is what? Is east. Now back to three figure bearing now. Three figure bearing this with 3-digit number. Assuming I calculated an angle and my angle is 7 degrees. I will not write 7 degrees. I will now make it 3 digits, which will be 007 degrees. Don't forget, if I write 007 degrees, that is still the same thing as what? As 3-digit bearing, which is still the same thing as 7. 7 and 007 is still the same thing as 7. They are still the same. And if I have 55 degrees, under 3 figure bearing, I will not write 55. I will add 10 to it to make 055 degrees. So that is what we mean by acute angle bearing. Acute angle bearing, for just to make it 3-digit number. Don't forget, under acute angle bearing, the angles are less than 90 degrees. But under 3 figure bearing, once the angle is less than 90, you add 1 digit to it to make it 3-digit bearing. So now let's look at the acute angle bearing, the direction of the angle, and the 3 figure bearing. Still using our what? Our main cardinal points. Now, looking at the cardinal points, we have our north here. Your north is always here. Your east here, south and west. East, south and west. Now, from the north, if my direction is on north, if my direction is here, it means this is either 0 degrees or 360 degrees. I told you if I want to move, count any angle, I will start from north, which is 0. And if I'm coming back here, I'm still coming back to 360 because this is 90 plus 90, 180, 270, 360 degrees. So that will be 360 degrees. So for 3-figure bearing, that is 0, 0, 0 degrees. Then for 360 degrees, that will give you 360 degrees. But for acute angle bearing, it does not have an acute bearing. Why? Because the angle is greater than 90 degrees. Then if my direction is towards northeast, this is east and this is north. If my direction is towards northeast, this is northeast. So this is my direction. So if this is 45 degrees, once it is northeast, it is dividing that part into 2 equal parts, which is 45 degrees here. Same thing happens here, 45 degrees. So the angle it makes with the north, that is 45. So under 3-figure bearing, it will be, though the angle is 45 degrees, but I will add 1 0 to it. You can see it here, which is 0.45 degrees. And for 3-figure bearing, that is 0.45 degrees. For acute angle bearing, the angle is between north and east. That will be north. What is the angle? 45 degrees. Then between north and east. So that will be north 45 degree east. Then if it's on east now, you can see it's exactly on east, which is 90 degrees. In 3-figure bearing, that will be 0, 90 degrees. You add 1 0 to the number, making it 3-digit bearing, or 3-figure bearing rather. Then for the acute angle bearing, it will not have an acute angle bearing because it is falling on the major cardinal point. Now the next one, which is the southeast. So this is south, this is east, and this is south. So if I have southeast is here. So you have east and south. So my southeast is here. Now looking at this, if I want to look at my southeast, so if I want to locate my 3-figure bearing, I'll read from the north pole to where this line is. So from north here, from north to east, that is 90 degrees. So I have 90 degrees plus the angle here is 45. This angle too is 45. So since they are dividing this into 2, each of the parts will be 45 degrees. So add 45 degrees here to the 90 here. That will give you 135 degrees. So the 3-figure bearing is 135. That is from the north to where the given point is, which is 135. But if I want to look for my acute angle bearing, I will come to this angle. That is the angle it makes with the south. So if this angle is 45, the other angle will also be 45 degrees. So this is south 45 degree east. So my acute angle bearing will be south 45 degree east. Same thing if the direction is on south, which is 180 degrees. You should know this. From here to here is 90. From here to here is another 90, which is 180 degrees. So the acute angle bearing will not be, you will not have any value for the acute angle bearing since the angle is what? Is more than 90 degrees and it falls on the major direction. Then the next one is if I have south here and west, between south and west. So if I want to read my angle, I will count from the north pole to southwest. Don't forget from north to south, that is 180, which is 90 plus 90, 180. Then 180 plus 45, that is 225 degrees. This is also the acute angle bearing. That is the angle it makes with what? With the south, which is south 45 degree west. Then the next one, which is the west, which is falling on west. When you look at west, this is the north. From here to here is 90, here 180, here 270 degree, which is on west, where the angle is greater than 90 degrees. And 270 degree is not a complementary angle. Why? Because it is greater than 90 degree. So it has no acute angle bearing. But if my angle now falls between north and west, so that means I will count from here, which is from to west, that is 270 degrees. So between this angle and northwest, that is 45 degrees. So that will be 270 plus 45, which is 315 degrees. Then, now, if this angle is 45, the other angle will also be 45. So the angle it makes with the north, that will be north 45 degree west for the acute angle bearing. So this is the direction versus three-figure bearing and acute angle bearing. So the example 2 now. Now we have this where we want to look at the three-figure bearing, the acute angle bearing, and the direction of the what? Of the point. Now from here, looking at this, we are given an angle of 37 degrees. So if I want to count it from the north pole, read this angle to the given point, that is 37 degrees. But to make it three-figure bearing, you add 1 0 to that 37 to give you 0.37 degrees. But when you look at the direction of the angle, is between north and what? And east. Because this arrow is between north and east. Now, and the acute angle bearing, the angle is making with what? With the north. So the angle is with the north. So now my acute angle bearing will be north 37 degree east. Not 37 degree east. Then for the second one, we have another diagram here where we are given 27 degrees. So when you look at 27 degrees very well, you will see that the 27 degrees is with the south. The angle is with the south. So if I want to get my three-figure bearing, I will start reading my angle from the north pole. From the north pole. Now, from north to east, that is 90 degrees. Now, but the angle here is given to me is 27 degrees. So, but I'm looking for the angle from the north to this line, north to the 27 degrees. So if I want to look at this angle, I have to make this angle to be complementary, since what I'm given here is 27, which is less than 90 degrees. So to make it a complementary angle, then subtract 27 degrees from 90 degrees, which will give us 63 degrees. So it means this angle here is 63 degrees. So that will be 63 degrees plus 90 degrees. Plus 90 degrees. That is what? That is 153 degrees, you can see. So the three figure is already in 3 digits or 3 figures. So I don't need to add any zero once it is 3 figure. So do you understand how I get that 153? Let me take it once again. From the north to east, that is 90 degrees. Then the other angle, which is given to me, is 27 degrees. The angle is with the south. But I'm looking for the angle before getting to the angle before with the south. So that is a complementary angle. That is, I will look for what I can add to 27 degrees to give me 90 degrees, which is 63. So you know that this angle here is 63 degrees, then plus the 90 here, making 153 degrees. So 27 degrees is already given to me, which is the angle it makes with what? With the south. So my acute angle bearing there will be what? will be south 27 degree east. That will be south 27 degree east. Now to the next example. Here, we also have 66 degree given to us. So if you are given 66 degree, to get your three-figure bearing, you start reading your angle from the north pole to where this arrow is. So this is 90 plus 90, which is 180. This angle is already given to me, which is 66. So 180 plus 66, that will give me 246 degrees. When you look at this angle very well, the angle is still with the south. It's still making an angle with the south. So what are you going to do there is you take the angle. You don't need to make it a complementary angle because you are already given the angle it makes with the south. So that will now give you what? That will give you south 66 degree, south 66 degree west for the what? For the acute angle bearing. But if you want to look at the direction of the bearing, that is what? Between south and west. Then the next one, when you look at this one very well, it's quite different from the first three that we have done earlier. If I want to look for the three-figure bearing, I will still follow the same procedure from reading my angle from the north. So that is from here to here, 90, to south, 180, to east, 270. Then I'm given this angle to the reference point or given point, which is 74. That will be 270 plus 74, which will give me 344. Now, but if I want to get the acute angle bearing, I will look for the angle it makes with the north, because this angle 74 degree is not with the north nor with the south. So since the angle given to me is less than 90 degree, then subtract it from 90, which will give you 16 degrees. So the acute angle bearing will now be north 16 degree east, because the angle is between north and east, which is the direction bearing. So the direction is north west, and the acute angle bearing is north 16 degree west. So let's now go to the last subtopic we have under this bearing, which is reciprocal or back bearing. Back bearing. Don't forget I told you earlier that if I want to look for the bearing of A, I will go and look it from B. And if I want to look for the bearing of B, I will go to A. So here, the bearing of A from B is 0.75 degree. You can see the angle of the bearing of B from where? From A. So if you want to get the bearing of A, you go to, if you want to look for the bearing of B rather, you go to A, you calculate the line at which from the north, from here to this point, that is 75 degrees. So the bearing of B from A is 75. Now if I want to look for the bearing of A from B now, it's very simple. When you look at this very well, this angle is 75 degrees. This angle as well will be 75 degrees. So from here to here is 180 degrees. So it means I will have 180 degrees, then plus 75 degrees. So that's give us 225 degrees. So you can see I'm also reading, to get the bearing of A from B, I'm also reading my angle from the what? From the north pole to where the point is. But here I will first make a straight line, so it will give me a straight line which is 180 degrees. This is an alternate angle, which if this angle is 75, this angle too will be 75 degrees. When you look at it very well, it forms a Z angle. And Z angles are always what? Are always alternate in nature. So that is how we get this 225 degrees. So you can see. So 225 degrees is called the back bearing. And 0.70 is called the back bearing of 0.75 degrees. So you can see it's just like what an opposite. If the bearing of A from B is 225 degrees, then the reciprocal or the back bearing of that will be the bearing of B from A is 0.75 degrees. So in general, if the bearing is less than 180 degree, if the bearing is less than 180, we add 180 to it. If it is less than 180, so you can see when the number here is less than, when my 75 is less than 180, what did I do? I added 180 to 75 to give me 225. And if your bearing is greater than 180, you subtract 180 from it. Okay, let's look at one or two examples. Example 1. Find the bearing whose reciprocal or back bearing is 0-30 degrees. When you look at the bearing here, the bearing 0-30 degrees is less than 180. So since it's less than 180 degrees, what will you do? You will what? You will add 180 to 33. So that will give you 180 degrees plus 33 degrees, which will give you what? 213 degrees. 213 degrees. Then the example 2. Find the back bearing. Find the bearing whose reciprocal back bearing is 220 degrees. We are looking for the bearing now. The bearing here is now more than 180 degrees. What will you do? You subtract 180 degrees from the bearing. So that will be 220 degrees. 220 degrees minus 180 degrees, which will give you 40 degrees. So in 3-figure bearing, my answer will be 040 degrees. So this is the end of our class for today. Please, if you have any question, don't hesitate to message me on my WhatsApp. So please, I'm expecting any question that you want to ask. Any area that is not clear to you, you can ask me questions so that I can shed more light on it. So today you have 3 class activities, please, which I'm expecting latest by Thursday to submit this class activity. So you have question 1, convert this acute angle bearing to equivalent acute angle bearing. So you convert it to that. Now the next one is find the bearing whose reciprocal or back bearing is 24 degrees, 135 degrees. Then convert these 3-figure bearings to equivalent acute angle bearing. So this is the end of our class for today. Goodbye.